believing it's true. We often have experiences that, well, maybe not often, but when we have experiences that are somewhat inexplicable, we may tend to try to disregard them, to pretend they didn't happen, or to try to explain it away. And today we're going to look at what if we allowed ourselves to actually metabolize these experiences and use them to expand our awareness and our capacity for awareness. So it should be fun conversation. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just press our palms together. Rub your palms together, feel the friction, the tickling, the tingling, the temperature, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, to this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Good morning, good morning, good morning. If you guys are putting in comments, be sure that you're on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page, because that's the way that I'll see them, or the Enlightened World Network YouTube channel. So, believing that it's true. My guess is that most of us have had one, if not several, extraordinary type experiences where we don't necessarily have an explanation for what happened. Good morning, Rosalind. Yay. So good to see you here with us this morning. Welcome, welcome. So we're talking today about believing it's true, like allowing ourselves to really have the experiences that defy conventional explanation, where we have a knowing about something. I don't know about you, but I can't count the number of times that I've been thinking about somebody and then I get a phone call or some kind of communication from that person. And maybe right as I'm thinking about them, it happens very frequently. So the thing that I wonder is, was it me thinking about them or them thinking about me that had me think about them? You know, it can be one of those endless tunnels, perhaps. But I'm wondering what your experiences are around that kind of knowing. And then is it something that you dismiss, or is it something that you allow yourself to embrace, to receive, to embody, and metabolize, and allow it to be a confirmation that expands that kind of awareness by validating it? You know, that we can know more and more and more. Rupert Sheldrake had done a study with dogs, knowing that their owners were coming home from distances, you know, like that they would, even when their owner was coming home at a time that was unpredictable, they would start moving toward the door before the owner was, or when the owner was on the way. So if dogs can have these knowings, is there any reason to believe that human beings can't have these knowings as well? And we do. It's just that our contemporary culture of supposed scientific orientation has programmed us to believe that these kinds of events, if they're not replicable over and over and over again in a controlled environment, we've been trained to believe that they don't exist, or that they're somehow less legitimate. And fortunately, these things are being being migrated into experimental situations that are able to validate their authenticity. But I find it fascinating. I think that as we allow ourselves recognition of these other kinds of perception or awareness or knowing, that we then expand our capacity to have those experiences because we recognize that they exist. And one of the compelling, to me anyway, one of the very compelling reasons to be cultivating this kind of awareness and validation is in order to be sensing more deeply into the world in which we live, to be communicating with the animals and the plants on a very different level, and the insects even, the other living creatures, the trees, maybe even the wind, the elements, to be communicating more directly with the world in which we live, and to be learning how best to be able to move forward in a world that is increasingly chaotic on all different kinds of levels. So there's, it's so interesting in a lot of the reading that I'm doing lately. On multiple occasions, I've come up against statements that about the wisdom of the plants. The plants have been here longer than the animals, longer than us for sure, and have developed ways of being that we don't even conceive of yet, because we don't even generally recognize their intelligence. Right? The way that they've adapted, the systems they've developed, the communication systems that they have. Fortunately for us, more information is coming out now about the intelligence of plants. I'm not recalling the woman's name at the moment, who is a researcher who's done all kinds of experimentation with plants and has documented that they can learn, or that they do learn, not can learn, do learn, by doing experiments with dropping the plant. And it was, I don't know if it was a touch me not plant, but I tend to think it was some kind of mimosa where you touch the leaves and the leaves close up. And so in the first couple experiments, when the plant was dropped, the leaves would close. And then the plant learned that this drop wasn't going to be cataclysmic, and eventually when it was dropped I don't think it took that many times. The leaves didn't close anymore. And this is quite amazing. Humans think it's quite amazing. The plant probably thinks like, you know, if plants think, they certainly don't think in the way that we think, right? And so looking at other intelligences and communications with other intelligences. I mean, I know people that talk to plants and that talk to animals with pretty great effect. It's pretty interesting, right? Like I feel like sometimes my plants are saying, "Hey, it's time to water me." You know, like I say I hear them because they come into my awareness and are asking to be watered. I think that we all have these kinds of experiences, and the question is how much attention, how much awareness are we willing to give to those experiences? You know, how present are we willing to be to these knowings that we have? We often get caught up in the frantic chaos of our human based urgencies, you know, to do this, do that, get the errands done, you know, get everything checked off on the list, and, you know, so that we become oblivious to the living world around us. And I'm wondering what your relationship is with this living world, you know, to take the time to listen, to be aware of the birds, to listen to the wind, to be communing with the plants. Yeah, I think I know that there is such a richness available to us as we allow ourselves to expand our senses or expand into our senses and allow them to develop and inform us in ways that are not yet conventionally understood or accepted. And so the idea here is to be willing to know what you know. And Susan Eyrich from Earthfire Institute talks about these sacred stories, or shares and has people share sacred stories of these kinds of connections. And one of the important pieces of the transformation that arises from these stories is the willingness to know them as true. So Jenny says, since the estrangement with my daughter, my depression and sadness have affected my house plants. Some even died. My other plants are not thriving. My bamboo has brown leaves, and overall my plants are not happy. So Jenny, maybe there's a way to connect with your plants and their vitality to help them help you, where you get to bring them alive and love them and recognize them. And I suspect that they will come back, you know, where you can feed each other that love and connection, you know. It's interesting that they get entrained to us in a certain degree, right? We have these connections, and maybe you can ask them to help lift you rather than to die and get brown. You know, maybe they can be a source of inspiration and strength for you, you know, and deeper connection. I know that when we are feeling bereaved, that we tend to shrink and and go inward, and, you know, kind of collapse inward, wither inward. And maybe they're reflecting to you what might be possible for you to reverse. You know, maybe they're expressing the withering and giving you feedback that maybe you can find a source of vitality despite your sadness around your daughter. So Rosalind says, I'd be open to hear messages they have. Not sure how I would recognize if I'm assigning a story to them or the experience is real. That's the $1 million question. Rosalind. Jenny says, I lost that spark I once had. I love them now. See, they feel what I feel inside. And so seeing that they feel what you feel inside, Jenny, maybe you can rally even more love for them. And as you rally more love for them, you'll experience that love inside you. And maybe that will help to rekindle that spark. That would be the hope and intention. I know it's hard when there's such a deep estrangement. The thing is, we get to, when we generalize that into all of our life, then we darken everything in our lives. And the thing is that there's so many wonderful things happening at the same time that you're not attending to, right? Because your focus is so much on your grief that everything else in life pales. And my suggestion, if I may be so bold to suggest, is that you deliberately start cultivating attention on those things that are magical and beautiful and life affirming. And so Jenny says, I feel unnurtured. Unnurtured is how I feel. And it sounds to me that that's accurate. And our nurturance, we can't rely on external sources for our nurturance alone. The nurturance comes from within. And this is an opportunity for you to be cultivating that self-nurturance, self-love, despite the upset of the relationship or the circumstances of the relationship. That you get to nurture you. You're responsible for your own vitality. We cannot make our vitality dependent on externals. And I know that may be hard to hear, but you have the capacity within you. And we all do. And it's certainly within our ability to cultivate life and vitality from within. I know that when we're in grief, when we're in sadness, when we're in despair, it's very, very challenging to lift ourselves from that to a place of hopefulness or vitality. But we can start with the little things like caring for the plants, for caring about the world that we live in, for, finding something greater than ourselves. And I wish you grace in that, Jenny. I hope that you're able to find something to channel that emotional energy, that energy of love, that and redirect, reconfigure all that grief into something that is life affirming. And I know that that's not an easy call necessarily. So back to what you were saying, Rosalind, is I'd be open to hearing messages, but I'm not sure how I'd recognize if I'm assigning a story to them or the experience is real. So this is what the topic of today is: being willing to believe that it's true. And when we have these experiences, so there's a beautiful conversation yesterday with a friend who has a niece that she said they just spend time staring into each other's eyes, and she has a deep sense that this niece is her mom. And there was a very, very fraught relationship with her mom. And so there's a redemption here for both of them, you know, to be cultivating this connection of forgiveness and renewal. And so I said to her, allow yourself to believe it. We have knowing about these things. We do have knowing. And when we allow ourselves to know what we know, then our capacity expands. We've been taught to not trust those knowings. We've been taught to be critical of them, to be dismissive of them, to say, oh, I just made it up, rather than looking at, well, what's deeper there? What if it is true? How can that feed life? Jenny says, I understand my happiness is in my pocket, nobody else's. I'm responsible for my own happiness, and I realize how I've neglected myself. I'm working on it. I believe you are, Jenny. It's not an easy road. You know, from being in deep despair, Jenny says, I'm learning to connect with myself because I have nobody that I'm connected to. And so the truth is that we are all connected. And it is awesome that you're learning to connect with yourself. And we are connected. You're connected to your daughter, even though that connection doesn't look the way you want it to look. And I get that it doesn't. And I get that it's so excruciatingly painful. But you are connected. And you can be sending love rather than despair. You know, we can, what we put our attention to is where our energy goes. So when we're putting our attention to grief and despair and depression, and believe me, I've lived through deep, 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 dark depression. And I know that when we put our attention there, that's where our energy goes, and it will suck our energy. And so if we can shift our attention, we can be shifting even if it's just a little bit, we can shift our energy into another frequency, another state, another way of being. And it's a gradual process, but the fact that you're connecting to yourself, Jenny, is so important, and to be loving and generous with yourself. Really, really congratulations for that work. But know that you really are connected. We're all connected. April, good morning, April. So good to have you here with us. April says, I play music to my plants and try different varieties to give them different vibrations. Works on a personal level for myself also, to listen to the music for change in tone. Beautiful, April. I love it. Well, there are devices that you can buy that you can hook to plants that allow them to play their music, where you actually hear the music from the plant's energy. Really amazing. And the plants, the more we allow ourselves to connect to them, the more they'll connect with us. At least that's my sense. Yeah, so April says that would be awesome. April, check it out. If you I don't know, I'll bet if you look up music from plants, or devices that play music from plants or something, you'll find these devices. It's very, very, very cool. So Jenny says, I just have my dog, Gus, no family around or friends. So wait a second, you said, I just have my dog, Gus. That dog, Gus, is probably he's probably a spirit animal for you right now. And the love that we have with our pets is beyond, beyond, beyond. It's like untainted love. And Jenny says, no real friends has been an eye-opener. I'm going to work on what you said more consciously. It takes, Jenny, to be moving. So depression can be a pattern and a chemical pattern in our bodies, truly, truly. And it takes deliberate, concerted, consistent effort and action. I remember being so sad. I was crying in the shower. And I mean, I was sad for years, but I remember deliberately turning my head, like deliberately started singing in the shower to try and lift my vibration. And so the thing to be doing is to finding those things that allow you to lift your vibration, to lift your frequency. And it's such an important thing to do in a conscious and deliberate fashion. And it works. It just takes consistent commitment. And Gus is there for you. So love that dog, like be with him and appreciate the love that is available through him as well, because he feels what you feel. I guarantee it. So if you like source your love for him, what are you putting your attention to? Love, expanding that love, rather than loss, right? So Rosalind says, if spirit can communicate with us through animals, cardinals, butterflies, and dragonflies are commonly thought to be messengers of deceased loved ones, letting us know they're near. For me, my mom appeared to me as hummingbirds. So that's a perfect example, Rosalind, of allowing yourself to believe that it's true, that your mom really did appear to you as hummingbirds. And by believing that that's true, you're allowing more experiences like that. April says, Gus's family. Hug that pooch. Exactly. Family is who we define family to be. Jenny says, Gus is connected and consoles me when I'm crying. He's absolutely the best dog ever. So given that that's true, Jenny, and I don't doubt it for a second, when you say, I just have my dog Gus, that just doesn't belong there, because it's like, I have my dog Gus. He's like my best buddy and companion. And that's a profound gift. I've had such deep connections with animals, way beyond the depth of my connections with humans, and Jenny says, how to raise the vibration. So that's a great question. how we can raise our vibration is by doing things that give us joy. Turn on some music that you love and dance like a fool. I mean, even if you're crying in the midst of it, you know, that it's going to raise your vibration. Sing, go do something that gives you joy. You know, for me, when I was stuck in depression, I would go out and take photographs of nature. It would get me to be outside. It would get me to see nature. It would get me to be present. It would get my attention focused on beauty and something that fed my heart. And the thing to realize is that as sad as you feel, you're not feeling that same sadness all the time. There are moments when you're occupied with something else, and then you remember, oh, I get to be sad. So we recall these emotions, and then we generalize them out and think that that's what's there all the time, but it isn't. Nobody can sustain any one given emotion all the time. And so recognizing the times when you're not sad and magnifying those, that also helps to shift the frequency and the vibration. So Jenny says he's 11-year-old Yorkshire Terrier. I got him at 5 from Craigslist. The universe brought us together. He's my rock. I'm so thrilled that you have him, Jenny. And there you can cultivate other connections. You know, that's an important thing to do. And the most important connection is with you yourself. For sure, for sure, for sure. So I'm hoping that today's conversation was helpful in some way, shape, or form. And we get to know what we know. We get to honor the connections and the intelligence and the communications that we have that might be a bit unconventional, but they're part of our perception and our capacity to perceive. And as we cultivate that, as we acknowledge it, more of that breeds more of that, actually, because it's kind of like opening up a channel to be able to receive that information. So anyway, that's it for this morning. I thank you so much for being here with me and collectively for your contributions to the conversation. You're what makes it so rich. So I'm deeply grateful to you. And I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. I go live here each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And at 9 a.m. Eastern each weekday morning. Rosalind says, for changing vibrations, being grounded might help. Essential oils or lighting Palo Santo helps me focus on body awareness and presence. I like ylang ylang or eucalyptus. And oh, April, you're so sweet. April says, thank you, Mira, for your contribution to the magic I've been discovering. So Jenny, I hope that helps. And lots and lots of love to you guys. I hope to see you again here